Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. This is a little weird for me. I'm doing this one during the daytime. Normally I do these at night, after work, kind of as I'm winding down the evening, but today I'm actually off from work. Mostly, I've, been helping out here and there. So the lighting might be a little off, the sound might be a little off. Going to have a lot more traffic going by. So if you're having difficulty with hearing anything, I do apologize. This video is going to be number 3 in my Army series, where I'm going to talk about advanced individual training, which is the job training that you select after you complete your basic training. Depending on how long this one runs, might lead into airborne school, which was the last step before I went to my final duty station. And if not, then that'll just be a subsequent video. So if you guys are enjoying these videos, please subscribe to my channel. Make sure you hit the little bell notification thing up there so you'll be the first to know if I have any new videos that I post. I try to do them on a fairly regular basis. I had a little gap here for about a week or so where I had a lot of personal things I had to take care of, so I wasn't able to do that. But I'm trying to get back in the swing of things here. If you enjoy the videos, please like them. Love to hear comments and feedback. Tell me something you like about it, something you don't like about it. If you had military experience you wanted to talk about, just anything. I love to interact with people in the comment section. So, right after I finished basic training in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, I think I kind of covered this at the end of my other video about basic training. I was one of the only people in the whole company that was an active duty army. Most everybody else was National Guard, Reserve, so they get to go home. I was kind of waiting on my next set of orders, so we were just kind of doing odds and ends around the base. But when my orders finally came in, I was in military intelligence at that time. I got transferred to an Air Force base for that training, and you hear a lot of jokes and things like that about the difference between the U.S. military branches. And look, I don't have any animosity toward anybody. Anybody that volunteers to put on that uniform, I don't care what branch you're in, you have my respect. So, but it's a different culture. Let's just say that. I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for basic training, which was pretty standard Army. And then you get to this Air Force base where I did my job training, and it was much more laid back and relaxed, much more. Just a completely different atmosphere. We were a little small Army contingent on a larger Air Force base. There was a Marine contingent and whatnot. So it was just not quite like going back out into the real world, but just very different from what it had been, in basic training. That goes without saying. Your first time in the Army. So this was the first time I had a little bit of freedom. I actually got to interact with females. They kind of discouraged that in basic training, so that was kind of neat. Like I said, just a night and day difference there. But I made a lot of good friends there. Oddly enough, some of the best friends I have in the military came from that little short period that I was there. We're still pretty close knit, a group of us. We had a reunion a couple of years ago. We still kind of interact with each other online and stuff. So that's kind of neat. But I remember going in there. I had kind of found my footing. Was enjoying the Army. But as far as my personal life, I had been through a rough patch with relationships and stuff, and I kind of sworn them off. I said, I'm just gonna. Not that I wanted to be a bachelor, but I was going to just spend the rest of my life single, and I wasn't going to let anybody get close to me again because I got so hurt in the past. I wasn't going to open my heart up to that, so I kind of had a cold, dead heart. And then, as life always does, you end up meeting somebody, and that kind of, goes by the wayside. So I met a girl, and I got to be quite friendly with her. Nothing ever happened. Literally, nothing ever happened, but we just got to be really close friends, and I was quite fond of her at the time, and, kind of like me, she didn't. She kind of like this whole cat and mouse thing. I didn't quite know what was going on. And also at the time I was having a little bit of difficulty fitting in, having some anger issues. I guess I guess maybe it was I was older. I don't know whatever was going on. I just really wasn't gelling with a lot of the people around me. Not counting the people I'm still friends with, but there was just some there that I just butt heads with for whatever reason. So they sent me to I had a big argument with I think it was my roommate who was just a complete douchebag. So I had an argument with him, and they sent me to some kind of anger management one-time class thing. And I had noticed one of the people in this class was an Air Force military policeman. They called them special police at the time. She was kind of cute. She always worked the gate, so anytime we would go off base, I would see her and kind of flirt with her. So that was kind of funny that I was in the class with her. Nothing, just innocent. But I just thought that was kind of funny. Um, again, I was friends with all these beautiful women. That just look just friends. And they were great friends, and I'm happy about that. I have no regrets. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. But I was still sort of naive at that time in my life. I didn't realize until many years later that some of my closest Army buddies, when we had the reunion, actually were like, you were sort of like a ladies' man. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, I have no indication of that. And they're like, oh no, this one like you, this one like you. Whatever. It's irrelevant. It's just funny looking back on it, but it's kind of irrelevant because I kind of only had eyes for one person at the time. Anyway, I was there, started my training. I was okay at first. I talked about it in my previous Army videos. I did not want anything to do with military intelligence. I had no desire, but they just the way I scored, the way my mind works, the analytical side of me. They felt I'd be good at it. And I was doing okay at first, and then I was also there during the time of the USS Cole got bombed, which was interesting couple of days to say the least. We kind of didn't know what was going on, so everything kind of grinded to a halt. And, we were under like a high security situation anyway, being in military intelligence. I just remember that being kind of interesting. But then we went back to training after that, and unfortunately I reached maybe like the halfway point. I don't even know, to be completely honest with you, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I just it was like whew, way over my head. I flunked out this one test, and then I think it was like they give you 3 times or something, and then the third time that's it, you're out of the program. So you have the option, if you want, you can reclass into something else, one of the Army's so-called needed MOS, military occupational specialties, basically something shorthanded, or something not really popular, for example, or you could go home with an honorable discharge. Well, I had reached that point, and I was very proud. I had come very far in my Army life and in my personal life. I didn't want to go back, so I ended up reclassing. And I remember they gave me a list of like, I think it was 19 or so choices at the time. One was like cavalry scout, helicopter mechanic, 2 things I really wouldn't do well in, laundry, tech, mortuary affairs, things like that. Nothing really came out at me until I saw unit supply and logistics. Now, I'm very neat, clean, organized, person, so I thought that would kind of fit me to a T. So I had no desire to go home. Not quite a year in the Army at this time. I kind of lose track of time. Everything kind of blends into one, But like I said, I had no desire to go home. So I ended up reclassing, and I went from the Air Force Base, which was a proverbial paradise, off to Fort Lee, Virginia, which was very old school Army, to my new, job training. And I just remember, like I said, it was just a very relaxed atmosphere at this Air Force Base. And the first day I showed up at Fort Lee, the reception, not reception, but like where you check in and where they move you off to your unit, there was a drill sergeant there. I did not see her patch the way she was standing around a corner, and I, made the mistake of, sergeant reporting for, and she just tore me a whole new one because I didn't, and I didn't disrespect. I literally did not see her patch on her, So it was a very very quick wake up call, getting back to reality and getting back to the real Army. But luckily, it wasn't that bad because my best friend in the Army, still to this day, this amazes me. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met. He actually didn't make it through the program, so he reclassed to be a unit supply and logistics specialist also. So a couple of weeks, maybe a month, not very long after my time ended there at the Air Force Base, he shows up at Fort Lee, Virginia. So it was cool. It was like, once again, I'm there with my best buddy. And I just remember we were still kind of in the holding pattern, waiting for the next class to open up. I think it was like 8 or 9 weeks that class, kind of similar to what basic training was, maybe a little less. Honestly, I really don't remember. It's not really important. I mean, it's just part of the story. So we were waiting around for the next class to open up. So we were just kind of in a holding pattern, and we had this one drill sergeant, one of the craziest, like, proverbial movie drill sergeants you could ever see. He was like, "I'm gonna drop kick you in the throat," and I remember one day I overslept and I was on the top bunk, and he just literally grabbed the whole entire bed, pulled it down to the ground, me on it and everything. He's like, "Get the F up," and it just kind of like, so I jumped back up. He was something else, man. We had a lot of really interesting, difficult, fun, challenging drill sergeants, at Fort Lee, but I no regrets. I mean, good memories. So, but when I talk about good memories, unfortunately, there were some bad memories as well. During that time that I was on Fort Lee, I got a call. The Army got a call from home. And one of the drill sergeants that really wasn't very fond of me, he's like, "Come here, son." And I said, "Yes, drill sergeant." He's like, you got a phone call. And, my mom had called to tell me my grandfather had passed. So that was difficult because, he was very important in my life. I had moved away from him when I moved to Texas, which was really difficult for me. But, we stayed in touch. But we hadn't really talked for a while. I had gone home to Christmas right before he passed away, and saw him, and he was very proud of me with my Army uniform and everything like that. So I got to go home for, it was like 3 days or something like that. They let you go home for the funeral and whatnot. So but I came back sad, upset, but motivated too to do it for him. To make him proud of me, like to continue to be the best I could, to be all I could be, as the Army used to say back in the 80s or whatnot. So I did that. Finally we got into our class. Made a lot of new friends there too. I mean, there was a group of like me and my best friend, and like 10, 12 other guys that we were like tight knit. All different ages, all different backgrounds, all different races, all different countries, whatever it was. And one of the beautiful things about the Army that you don't really get in the civilian world, we had a lot more freedom. We could kind of, you can't come and go as you please, but you'd earn like weekend passes and whatnot. And I just remember one time, it was kind of like the first time we got away as a group, and we went to like one of the bars on base, and I mean everybody was just sloshed. So instead of walking home, because you can't drive, you don't have a vehicle or anything, we called the drill sergeant. And I remember we came on the bus, like 10, 15, 20 of us, and I mean, the drill sergeant's like, "Damn, it smells like a brewery up in here." I mean, just funny things. It's just amazing the things that pop in your head when you look back on your life and you look back on things like that. So that was pretty funny. But anyway, I was getting in great shape. I mean, that was the time I was probably in the best physical shape of my life. Coming out of basic training, I was in good shape. I had lost 47 pounds, and then I stayed in decent shape on the Air Force Base. But being back here, we ran like hell. So I was in great shape, but I actually got into better shape, and that's the funny part. So toward the end of my job training, it's like the last week. And I don't remember what was going on. We're kind of done. It was more like pomp and circumstance stuff was going on. And, they get all the guys. I don't remember if I'm sure they had some of the female soldiers there, but it seemed like it was mostly the guys, And they order us to go marching into the building, into this dingy dungeon-looking basement, and you get in there and it's all hot and muggy, and they got rows of tables and chairs, so everybody sits down. They got an old TV with a VCR up front. We're all just kind of sitting there, like wondering, like, what the hell's going on, So we're just kind of talking quietly amongst ourselves, and after a couple minutes, like the door bursts open, and here come these sergeants in there with the red berets, and they're yelling and screaming and hooting and hollering, and they put a tape in the little VHS player for you young people that you might have to ask a relative to explain that to you. And we're watching this, what looks like a training video, and I realize, holy crap, that's the airborne. Now, when you first go in the Army, they ask you, are you interested in going airborne? I'm terrified of heights. I was like, you couldn't pay me enough to do that, you know? But we watched this 10, 15-minute video, and, you know, it gets your blood pumping, it gets you motivated and whatnot. But I'm like, oh, hell no, I ain't doing this, you know? So, video ends, and then, of course, they say, hey, whoever wants to do it, raise your hand. I'm like, my best friend and the other 10, 11 guys we're with, and they all turn and look at me with those sad puppy dog eyes. They're like, and I'm like, you sons of bitches. You know, in my life, I've been very, very good about not ever succumbing to peer pressure. But this one time, it was like, oh, you sons of bitches, I hate all you bastards. You know, so I was like, well, I'm not going to be the one who doesn't do it. And, you know, a part of me kind of felt, as silly as it sounds, to be honest, I was the oldest. I kind of looked out for them as best I could. I was like, oh, you bastards, screw all of you, and I volunteered, you know. So next thing you know, they switch us out of our main thing into an airborne preparation company. So all the PT, the physical training that I had been doing, which was, you know, pretty, for me, because, you know, I was never really a super active person, was pretty strenuous, got turned up 10 notches. And I was running like hell. I mean, I was running 6 miles Monday, 8 miles Wednesday, 10 miles Friday. And when I say running, I don't mean like casually strolling. I mean running, like hauling ass, like your life depended on it, as fast as humanly possible, doing more push ups, doing more sit ups, doing more physical activity than I had ever done, even, you know, on Fort Lee. Um, it's kind of funny because had I not volunteered for the airborne, I was actually due to go to, my orders were for Korea, which, you know, I didn't mind because part of the reason I joined the army, I wanted to travel. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to see other places, you know. But once you sign up for the airborne, it's either Fort Bragg, North Carolina, which is, you know, home to the airborne. They've got a station in Italy, but I was, you know, too lower ranked, didn't have seniority to go there. And I believe they have one out in Wainwright, Alaska. I'm not sure if that's still the situation, you know. So once you do that, you're pretty much confined, you know, to the airborne and whatnot. So, you know, we did that and whatnot. We stepped it up for 2 weeks of training, and then it was off to Fort. God, I should know this. What the hell? The one in Georgia. Old school Army. I loved it. I can't think of the. I'm drawing a blank. Not Fort Gordon. Okay, all my airborne buddies, if you're watching this, I apologize. I'm getting old. I'm getting senile. My memory is just not as good as it used to be. But it was this old school army base. I mean, everything, like barracks, looked like they were straight out of World War II. You know, it had this. But to me, it had a charm about it. I loved the old school army thing. So anyway, you know, whatever happened, I got sent before my best friend. You know, and we always, you know, seemed to meet back up. You know. Well, anyway, he was going to go the following week or 2 weeks after me or whatever. So anyway, I get down there and you know, I turn in my paperwork to start, and they're like, "Oh, your paperwork's messed up. You got to wait until you get this cleared." And I'm like, "I looked at this crap like 10 ways to Sunday. What are you talking about? Everything was fine." They're like, "No, no, you got to wait." Whatever. So here I am. I'm sitting around again. You know, and it was like the bulk of the guys, that little group, that tight knit group of 10, 12 of us that we were friends, it seemed like I was the only one that got sent early. I don't know why, maybe because I was older, whatever. You know, everybody else was kind of waiting in the rear. Um, so about a week goes by, you know, I'm doing these odd and ends thing, and I just happened to walk outside the barracks there one day, and here comes my best friend, sees me, comes running down, gives me a big hug. You know, he had got there that day with everybody else, basically. And, you know, so we're talking, and he's like, "Oh, man, you know, I got my paper. We're going to be starting Monday. Everything, not Monday, whatever day it was. You know, he was basically going to be starting in the next thing." And I'm like, "Man, my paperwork's messed up. I don't know when the hell it's going to happen." So I was all sad, and I remember going back to the barracks and pulling everything out. And I looked at my paperwork, and it was fine. So took it back to the reception, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't know how we could have missed this." Everything in life happens for a reason. I don't necessarily know where I lay on the terms of religion. You know, I've been religious in my life. I've been not religious in my life. I've believed. I've not believed. But there are divine moments that happen in your life, and that was one Anyway, here I was getting ready to start airborne school. But because I'm at the 20-minute mark, I'm going to go ahead and stop this video here, and then I'll pick up, part 4. We'll talk about airborne school, because that's a little more lengthy. But anyway, just kind of wanted to cover, my advanced individual training, between the Air Force Base, between Fort Lee, and then, onto airborne school in Georgia. Fort Benning, my God, how could I forget the name of that base? Fort Benning, Georgia. I loved it there. I mean, I'll talk about it in the next video. I absolutely love Fort Benning, Georgia. Like I said, just old school feel, hot as hell, in the summer, but it's Georgia. What are you going to do? So anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed my other videos, please subscribe to my channel. Hit the little notification bell so whenever I do a new video, you'll be notified of that. Like the videos. I appreciate that. Make any kind of comments you want. Tell me if you liked them, you didn't like them. If you have comments about it, questions, anything like that. So this was part 3 of my Army series. So in the next one, we're going to talk about airborne school, and then eventually we'll do another one about my duty station, my final duty station at Fort Bragg, September 11th. I'm going to talk about that, and then to close out the series, we'll talk about life after the Army. So I appreciate you guys joining me on this one. I hope with the lighting and all the sounds outside that you were able to hear it and see it just fine. And I'll see you in the next video.